This looks awesome. Yes. Do you need this? Is that your?
Oh, that's just
Your
so,
battery pack?
That's just so my phone doesn't die.
Yeah, I need to carry one of those. Mine's really,
Yeah.
mine's, as they say, fixing to die.
Probably looking at mine. I'm at 62.
I've just done too
Or
many.
you want me to just push this, right?
Oh, actually, I think it's already done.
Oh, you good.
Appreciate it. So I only have minimal notes. So if I look down at my screen,
No worries. Someone would just remind me that my phone is there.
right there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. I really appreciate it. This is our maiden voyage for the Young Professional Spotlight Network, and so I appreciate you coming to listen here. My name's David. I'm going to be talking a little bit about myself at the end of the presentation. We'll kind of talk about the end theme here, but as you can see, the title for what we're talking about today is How to Master Your Day, Generate More Leads, and Deliver Exceptional Client Experiences. So if you're here, there's probably a need for why you're here. And I first want to talk about, the problem. What's at stake? Too many professionals, and for everyone how I've met, who cares about their life and their work,
Right there.
too many professionals with important missions are falling victim to the enemies of their success, both internal and external. We all want to do a good job and have a desire to be effective in our lives and careers, but what's at stake if we don't take the time to get better every day? Right? We can miss our goals, we can underperform, or really, what I believe worse yet is we fail to reach the people who desperately need the unique talents that we have to offer them. If we're not taking time to get better every day, we may fail to actually meet the exact people who need our unique gifts and talents for what they need. So, what does it mean to master your day? Master your day is a phrase that I work for a mortgage company called U Mortgage. It's a phrase, it's a program that we've used to kind of talk about the way that we go about our days and activities. And the way we define what it means to master your day is to have the most effective day possible and earn new business. And to earn new business, you need to be willing to go outside of your comfort zone, expanding your social media footprint, hitting the pavement, and getting in front of new potential referral partners and expanding your networking circle. So later on, we're going to be talking about this in the presentation, but the Master Your Day point system, which if you see on the printout that I got, this is something that we use every single day. It's a simple tool that challenges you and challenges us to maximize your 24 hours in a day and to put yourself consistently in front of potential referral partners and to gain new business relationships. Ultimately, we want to talk about what value-driven professionals do to master their day. And value-driven professionals master their day by getting clarity in what they need to do, getting their database organized, and getting their priorities scheduled. So the first thing we're talking about clarity. The enemy of the value-driven professional is ambiguity.
Love that.
Starting in really the beginning of the 20th century, there was a fundamental shift and change in the way that work started to occur. We started to shift from an industrial economy, think farming, working in factories, to more knowledge economy, or what's been dubbed as knowledge work. The way that knowledge work is defined is, to quote the author Matt Perman, knowledge work is any work whose focus consists of generating ideas, communicating, and leading. So when you think knowledge work, it's more than just creative work. It's anything that your primary job is communicating, leading, or generating ideas. Think emails, calls, text messages. It's the soft skills that we use every day, regardless if you're in financial advising, if you're in mortgages, if you're in law. That would be considered knowledge work. Sometimes knowledge work involves even defining the work itself, which is half the battle. Knowledge work itself involves constant incoming information, emails, phone calls, text messages, and then having to make snap decisions for what's incoming, what's important, what needs to be dealt with right away, and what can wait.
Processors don't wait.
No, they do not, especially when you haven't updated the notes in the system and they desperately need those notes. to
We
do
learned
their
that
job.
today.
Yes.
Thanks, TJ.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
He's got a baby on the block. Up on the block. They don't want to.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, in the midst of like having to find what we do every day, ambiguity can raise to like, you wake up in the morning and you have a ton of things to do on your items and you just have absolutely no idea what to do first. Or I know there's so many things to do, but what are they? We don't have that clarity. One of my favorite quotes about productivity also comes from author Matt Permanent, What's Best Next? That productivity is first about effectiveness, not efficiency. Productivity is getting the right things done in less time and with less friction. And the example that he uses in his book, What's Best Next, as he's talking about productivity, is Thomas Edison's first light bulb. When Thomas Edison first made the light bulb, it generated about 90% heat and 10% light. Highly not efficient, but incredibly effective, and more effective than candles or other means of generating light. But there's nothing more unproductive than wasting all of your time on things that aren't effective in the mission that you're looking to achieve. Doing things that don't matter. So, the solution for that, and one of the things that we've kind of done internally as a company, this is the first page of what we call the Partnership Playbook. And it's designed to, just like football teams or basketball teams or any sports teams might have a playbook for what they run, these are the plays that are run by successful loan originators, mortgage loan originators from across the country, where it's a distillation of their best knowledge and best kept trade secrets to run an effective mortgage business. And in front of you, you see the Master Your Day sheet. So the way it works is every person has a goal for reaching 100 points a day.
Wow.
On various activities, and you can do it multiple different ways. As you can see, different items are weighted differently. So, it's a social media category. This is designed for a mortgage loan originator. So if they have a real estate closing and they go to the closing and they do, picture with a client, picture with the real estate agent, boom, 15 points. If you have 2 closings in a day, boom, that's 30 points. Posting an image on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and also you can double up on these as well. You'll also notice the higher the point value for in-person meetings, voice-to-voice, face-to-face, actually having human connection, and then, various other things along the way. There's categories for utilizing video, making actual contact with people. One of my favorite is writing a personalized thank you note, following up after every conversation.
She's laughing at me.
I do.
Piles and piles of them.
And so one of my contributions to this playbook was utilizing something from one of my favorite books, the book Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, I love that book.
Habit stacking. So for loan originators that are, we had a contest. It was a company-wide contest called the Ultimate Loan Officer. And the first thing was, how many points can you get in a day? So we're all competing with each other for how many points you can generate. My contribution to the playbook was, all right, I'm just going to tack, how can I string together these activities to create positive habits? So every time I get on a phone call, I have a positive conversation with someone. Personal note in the mail. Every time it's usually right after phone calls. It's really what it is. Or meet with someone for coffee, or meet with someone for lunch, a personal note in the mail, or some sort of follow-up, some sort of additional tag. So you just keep stringing on points after points after points, and creating that unique client experience and make that person feel good. Because who doesn't love getting a personal note in the mail? But you can do that with any of them. You can do every closing, post an image on Facebook, post an image here, you talk at the Chamber of Commerce, posting an image for what you are doing. So, getting clarity on what your top tasks are. Master Your Day worksheet. You can take the same similar day. You can make your own point system for whatever you need to do for your most desired task. Gamify your day. The second enemy to the value-driven professional is disorganization. Now, we don't normally think of this, in terms of categorizing our relationships. Did anybody use like a CRM in their business? Like
We have a big
CRM?
CRM.
Do attorneys utilize CRMs?
Oh, yeah.
That's what, absolutely.
I'm sure you have a medical,
Maybe database.
your
Yeah.
patient
Um,
database.
One of my favorite, when I first got into the mortgage industry, one of the first books that my mentor gave to me was a book called Working by Referral by a guy named Brian Buffini and his partner Joe Nigo. Joe Nigo sells real estate in kind of by Midway in Chicago. And one of the first quotes in that book that Brian Buffini says is that your database is not a list of contacts, but relationships. How are you individually connected to? Because you could have a list of 1,000 emails and 1,000 phone numbers, and they could have no personal connection to you, and that list could be worthless. But, I would rather have a list of 250 names of people who I individually know that I have a connection with, there. And of course, another email, phone number. But I think more business can be generated with that list of 250 people and the connection that you build with them than a list of random 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 emails and text messages. So, one of the things that Brian Buffini talks about, and he's a real estate trainer by trade, but a lot of the same principles applies, at least for my industry. I always think a lot for my industry because it's kind of what I do every day. He talks about getting your database organized in a four-square system. Organizing your database for A's, B's, C's, and D's. And it's important to point out that it's not a grading scale of how good or nice these people are. You're not rating people by this is an A+ person, and this person's really a D. I can explain the chart for going this way. It's the ability of people to refer you business. And going up is the willingness of people to refer you business. So, say you categorize, you get together your entire list of names in your database, right? People who you have a relationship with. Your A's in your database are going to be people who are most likely to refer you, people who are most likely to, and the people who are most willing. Maybe they send you multiple, for whatever you do, they send you multiple clients a month for what you do. Because they have the highest ability and they have the highest willingness to refer. Moving back over one corner, we have the B's. These people have the highest willingness to refer, but maybe a low ability to. In my database, my parents are B's. They're A's in my heart, A pluses in my heart, but they're B's in my database.
They would be happy to hear that.
They would refer anybody to me for anything that I do, right? But they're not exactly going out being social, being like, so is anyone buying or selling? Or anyone need a refinance right now? Super high willingness, very low ability because they're just in their everyday life, not coming across those spectrum. C's are people who might refer you in the future and people who are meant to build deep and lasting relationships with those people. If I meet a real estate agent on the street, they're automatically a C because they have a high ability to refer, but probably a pretty low willingness if they just met me. And then D's can be either people who have no ability to refer or no willingness to refer. Usually this ends up being someone who already has someone in their database who would refer. For me, I think of someone, a couple who's in my church small group. We were right around the same age, perfect, like first-time home buyers, they're gonna buy a house anytime. Would have been perfect clients for me to help them buy a home and have them get a mortgage, except her dad runs the mortgage division of a bank here locally in town. I'm just not gonna get that business or referral, and that's okay. It means I don't have to waste my mental energy or my marketing energy trying to make something happen that's just not going to. It doesn't affect our personal relationship, it's just is what it is, that's okay.
Well, and David, don't you find too that you never know? Because sometimes people that I think are least able or willing end up being like really good referral sources, and it's just random. They just like you, they want to refer you to people, but they may not, from the outside looking in, look like an A.
This is being recorded, so I probably shouldn't say this, but for the longest time, I thought my sister-in-law was a D. Just like no interest,
Yes.
didn't care what I did, was never going to like, oh, you should go talk to David for that.
Yes.
She referred me to someone who, like, she was a bridesmaid at her wedding.
Yeah.
And then those people referred me to someone else.
Oh boy.
I had totally written it off that she would ever be interested in like talking to me in a certain professional capacity. And it wasn't like I was like bitter or angry about it. It was just like, I'm just not, and that's okay. Like, I just made peace with it. But they surprised me.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we help everybody. We do. Anyone who comes to any service that we do. But sometimes high stress and high drama clients, you know, it doesn't need to be where we focus our energy. I would rather try and find and have coffee with 5 A's than sometimes trying to get someone who's doesn't really like me or is high stress or high drama or just drains my energy. I'd rather spend my time with A. There. So in terms of prioritization of time, that's how you can organize your database.
And the
Makes sense.
B's?
B's are high willingness, but low ability. So like my parents.
Oh, right, your parents.
So sometimes it may be, you know, an item or a task value for me would be, I need to teach my parents how to refer me.
Mm-hmm.
I actually need to sit down with them and be like, hey, when this comes up, like, this is how you refer someone over to me and have it not be awkward. Like, they just need to be trained. Or
Yeah.
they would refer you if they knew how.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to say it.
And so when you think of like networks for people, you know, kind of what we talked about in terms of networks. So here, again, I'm a loan officer, so I think of things in that way. You have loan officer at the center, and you have all of these different connections. You have connections to real estate agent connections. Maybe they know a financial planner, maybe they know a title agent, maybe they have a friend. The financial planner, you know, needs a mortgage and they trust you. So lead is generated. Chamber of Commerce member, they know a real estate agent, they know a family member. Community leader, back, or Little League coach. Maybe that Little League coach knows an investor who invests in real estate. They're like, well, hey, you should talk to that person. You know, home inspector, friend. So you have these web and interconnections, and you never know who is anybody else. And then your network just continues to grow. But what also can be challenging is figuring out who's in your database and who's not. And the way that gets overcome is something I like to call the mayor campaign. Like you're running for mayor, Wheaton or Winfield or wherever you live. The mayor campaign is a simple dialogue that can be used, and actually made by Brian Buffini. The way it goes is like this. Hey, Nisha, just quick question. You know, if you knew someone who was looking to buy or needed a mortgage or needed to refinance, you know, do you have someone who you would automatically refer to like use for a mortgage? Like, hey, you got to talk to this person. You know, do you have someone automatically like that just comes to mind?
You.
So I just mayor campaign Nisha. So the mayor campaign is figuring out who, like, hey, if you are that person, great. But sometimes they might say, you know what, if you're a real estate agent, how many? It's like, if I was a real estate agent and I asked that same question, be like, actually my brother does real estate or my aunt Carol does it and we have to use her. It's like, great. You find out then, all right. And maybe, you know what, Aunt Carol retires or whatever they use her, like, that's okay. But in terms of getting people into the database or coaching them for how to refer, a great place to start is the mayor campaign. And so you start kind of that conditioning. And from there, you put them into your database, you start providing items of value, you start providing content, you start conversing with them so that they know what you do, that you're passionate about it, that you love it. But that's a simple way to start, for getting someone into your database. And then lastly, the enemy of the value-driven professional is a lack of execution. Because you can make all of the greatest plans in the world, but if you don't do it, meaningless. And one of my favorite quotes talking about execution is, a good plan executed now is better than a perfect plan next week. Of course, it came from General George S. Patton, longest movie in the history of. But I think of this quote a lot because oftentimes we can get so bogged down in our own perfection, or it has to be perfect before I officially take it to market, or it has to be perfect before I go ahead and do something. When really, like, how many good things that we would do, or how many, I don't want to phrase that, you know, how many good things don't get accomplished because we're waiting for just for it to be perfect when it would do a whole lot of good if we just went ahead and did it. So, in talking about execution, everyone needs a plan. When are we actually going to schedule our priorities into our schedule? And there's a couple different tools this is the point that I have the least to say about. But here's an example of a planner. If you go to the website heroonamission.com, this is actually from another website called Business Made Simple. The author, Donald Miller, he's written a couple different books, but his business and marketing stuff is actually really good. This is his planner, where he goes out about his day, talks about primary task 1, how long it's going to take, what's the rest, what's the reward for doing it. Secondary tasks, appointments that he has throughout the day, and then even like a little bit of a reflection at the end. Other things that you can do, there's Cal Newport's Time Block Planner that you can find on Amazon, or one of my favorite things is bullet journaling. I love bullet journaling. It's almost like my second brain, where anything that is troubling me, I can either schedule it, it's really just flexible for what you can do in terms of time blocking, time management, getting things that are on your brain or off your brain, so you can focus on the important things that you need to do and getting clarity about what is important to you. 2 things that I've utilized. And combined.
And
as well.
who is that by? The bullet
Ryder Carroll.
writer Carol.
You can find all kinds of stuff online about him. It's great. It's awesome. So lastly, those are the 3 kind of enemies for the value-driven professional. This is a slide, it has me in the center, but I like to kind of end talking about the core values for why I joined the company that I did, and then kind of find the final theme as we kind of wrap up. So the 5 core values that we espouse, and there's a couple ways that this fits in. For the master your day entire plan, the entire idea and plan for it is to focus on relationships and not transactions. Regardless, whatever business you're in, we're all in a people business. We all interact with people. I think one of my favorite quotes from The Office, Michael Scott says a lot of dumb things, but every once in a while they write a really pithy line that if you're not paying attention, being like, oh, he's right. He's not a complete idiot. He's actually good at sales. That's why he got to be manager. It's when he's threatening it's the episode where he goes as a guest speaker for business school, which was kind of what I was using as inspiration for here. And he thinks, Brian the Temp thinks that Dunder Mifflin's going to go out of business. Michael's super offended. Brian the Temp thinks that Michael is going to fire him. And literally, it's the last thing that he says in the episode. It's like, people never go out of business, Brian. Companies do, but people themselves. Some things, there's always be relationship businesses. There's nothing that can really be changed about that. So focusing on relationships, not transactions, is one of the core values that we espouse with everything that we do. Other values, owning the moment, owning, for me, I didn't put in a whole bunch of notes that I needed to communicate with my processor. Crap, I gotta own that moment. I gotta go back. I gotta communicate with her so that she's not freaking out for everything. Experience is everything. Client experience is everything. If you can build a better client experience for what you do, you're going to win in the marketplace, or any place. Creating strong communities, getting involved in your local chamber of commerces, your libraries, important factor. And then lastly, getting better every day, which is what mastering your day is all about. So this is the theme that I want to end on. So what would your life look like if we focus on just getting 1% better in one category every day? And I talked about the book Atomic Habits, right? Fantastic book. Can be used for anything. Change personal life, business, doesn't matter. But I want to end, and this is enough details. I want to use notes on it periodically. But the book opens up in this story of a guy, his name's Dave Brailsford, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And how in 2003, he was hired as the new performance director for the Great Britain cycling team, the national cycling
There
team.
you go. Think I know it somewhere.
Yep.
Idiots.
He was hired in 2003. Before that, the British national cycling team was the laughing stock of the cycling community through Europe. They endured 110 years of just utter mediocrity. So bad that some European bicycle brands stopped selling to them because they didn't want their brand associated with such losers. They thought they would lose sales. That's how bad the British cycling team was. So this guy is hired to turn the entire team around. And Brailsford had a strategy that he believed called the aggregation of marginal gains. And this is a direct quote from him, and I'm just going to read off the notes. The whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put it back all together. So he did some really ridiculous things with his team. Redesigning bicycle seats that would be more comfortable, different massage gels after they were cycling to enhance muscle recovery, testing different pillows and mattresses that the cyclists sleeped on so they'd get a better night's sleep, hiring a surgeon to come in and teach the bicyclists how to wash their hands so they wouldn't catch colds, painting the inside of their van white so you could see every single speck of dust inside the finely tuned bicycles that they were using so that it would run more efficiently. Special aerodynamic fabrics they would make the uniforms. Literally everything that goes in, how can you make it 1% better? So 5 years after he was hired, the British cycling team dominated the Beijing Olympics, winning 60% of the gold medals. And in 2012, at the London Olympics, they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. It went on to, I can't remember how many British cyclists won the Tour de France in the following decade. Something like 4 or 5, all from that team. What does life look like when you can get 1% better every day in any of those categories? You just have to pick one. Over time, the marginal gains continue to increase and getting better every day. That's my slide for compliance.
Yay!
That's all I got.
Great. That was great. You know what? This is something you could do to the whole chamber. We'll get you on the schedule. Don't you think? Don't you think it's a good general?
Yeah.
A general luncheon too. Also, comment. Also,
Yeah, I'd love to do.
yeah. This is really good.
I like this with rough draft.
And you mentioned all our favorite books.
There's a couple of my favorite books that I didn't get. So Cal Newport, the guy who did the time blocking thing.
Yeah, he's
Um,
great.
Did you do Deep Work? Did we talk
Yes,
about that?
I did that as a book review here,
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a Deep
Yeah.
Work in there.
and I gave you my book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circle of Gold.
It's got the that network of everybody's connected.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to keep that going, or should
Oh,
we
turn it off, please.
should we go